Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to another complete army video. So in this episode here we'll be focusing in on my new revamped, well it's a major revamp really of my Blood Angels army. I've been meaning to do it for a long time. A lot of people have been saying you need to improve and upgrade your Blood Angels and so on. What I've been doing with a number of my factions, instead of just bringing in the odd unit here and there, I've just been taking a major step back from the lists that I have and then just a total overhaul. I've done it with the Necrons, very happy with the new armies, but 80% of the models for that force new models and units, and the same with the Blood Angels here. I've kept a flavour of some of my favourite units, but there's a lot of new units fresh off the painting desk being added in. So I have a list for you here in this video. It's 2000 points for the Blood Angels. I'm going to run through. It's a chance just to really take an in-depth look at all of the units, the whole philosophy of the army, all of the tricks and tactics and ideas behind the force, and how I hope to use them in games. So if you're into Blood Angels or starting to get into them here, there's lots that can be picked up just from individual units or the whole way of going about building up a full list. So 2000 points is the points level here for this list. So before I get stuck into the video, just to mention about Discount 40k, the sponsors here, Goblin Gaming, you can check them out. Link for them is in the video description below. If you do use that link for making your orders for Warhammer 40,000, Games Workshop stuff, a load of other gaming systems available from them as well, then when you click on that unique link it does help the channel in a small way and it's much appreciated. So check out Goblin Gaming for Discount 40k and more. So with the Blood Angels then you've got Space Marines, so we're drawing a lot from here, and then you've got the Blood Angels supplement book that's been added as well. Blood Angels, certainly one of the more aggressive Space Marine chapters, and really want to try and build a list for any of the factions. I always try and reflect the way the faction is meant to play. So there's certain Space Marine chapters where you can go for a gun line and lots of Dakar and firepower, but there's others like the Space Wolves, for example, and the Blood Angels that are more as they enjoy getting stuck into close combat and destroying the enemy at close quarters. Blood Angels, if you're thinking of getting into those, it's an army that you can play aggressively with, and there's certainly some very nasty units available for them to use in close combat. So you'll see that in my list. I'll just talk about the overall structure of the army here and the sort of tactics. The other thing is that it's 9th edition now, so it's about board control, units spreading out across the table. There's secondaries to try and achieve during the game, so you need units that are going to help you do that. And also it's about clearing and controlling objectives. So it can't all just be some Death Star combination that turns up on the board. You've got to spread out and try and play the game tactically as well. So you're going to see an element of that in this Blood Angels list as well. So you're going to see an attacking option, then also a support and tactical option as well to help pick up those vital points during the game as well. You can cause more damage against the opponent and yet they could still beat you because they've scored more victory points, so you've got to remember the game does revolve around that. And then you'll see some competitive elements to the list here, some popular units that have been taken, but also some of my own favourites, a bit of a flavour going on, and just sort of my own preference for some of the units as well. So structure for the army then is 12 command points. I'm paying 2 command points because I'm taking a double patrol. Warlord is in one of those patrol detachments, so I'm having to pay for one of them, so that's 2 points. And then also taking extra relics and warlord traits, an extra minus 3 CP for that. It's dropping down to 7 CP on command points, and then obviously you're going to get the 5 that you get during the game, 1 each turn. So it's quite low. It's not too bad. 7's okay, and I seem to cope all right in the number of games I've played. So 7 command points available. So before we get stuck in, there's a few little rules that I'll point out to you that sort of cover the whole army. So if you go to the regular Space Marine Codex, it gives you extra rules for Blood Angels, as well as your usual rules for Space Marines. Which I'll come to a bit later on, but for Blood Angels, it says +1 to advanced rolls and charge rolls made for units of this tactic. So remember that your deep strike in, a 9-inch charge becomes an 8-inch charge. When you're moving around on the table, 7-inch charge becomes a 6-inch charge. Remember that +1 for your charges. It's very, very useful. And each time a model of this tactic makes a melee attack, if that model's unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed heroic intervention this turn, it's add 1 to the attack's wound roll. So a major incentive to get stuck into close combat. +1 to the wound rolls across the army is very, very powerful. So you may as well go aggressive with the Blood Angels. And it's good fun playing that way if you can execute a really good plan. It's very satisfying because once Blood Angels get stuck in, they can make a mess of the opposing army for sure. So then you've got your normal Space Marine rules to bear in mind as well. So they get Angels of Death, they show no fear. You've got Bolt of Discipline, so helping if you're shooting there. Then Shock Assault here, so Space Marines on the charge. Or if you are charged, or perform heroic intervention. Yeah, you get an extra attack, so that's really going to help out Blood Angels. Extra attacks for being aggressive and charging. Then you've got your doctrines. It's Devastator Doctrine, so an extra AP -1 for those heavy and grenade weapons. Tactical Doctrine, Rapid Fire and Assault, AP -1. And then Assault Doctrines. A lot of Blood Angels players will say, well, try and make your assault on turn 3 because you're going to get your extra minus on your melee weapons. And then Blood Angels also have, and these little rules, don't skip these are very, very important rules just to get those in your mind and remembering them, because they're very, very important, all those extra attacks and so on. So I think it's back here, and the problem is these are scattered about. See, this one's, it's just tucked away up here under detachment abilities. So you're drawing from a number of areas. You've got to make sure you get all these rules noted down. So Savage Echoes, whilst the Assault Doctrine is active, so that's turn 3 onwards. Each time this unit fights, if it made a charge move, was charged or performed heroic intervention, you get an extra attack as well. So, yeah, a Space Marine with 2 attacks on turn 3, if they charge, perform heroic intervention, or were charged, they're getting an extra attack for being Space Marines, and an extra attack for Savage Echoes as well. So all those attacks really start to stack up, and that's what can make Blood Angels particularly dangerous in close combat, especially on turn 3. So many Blood Angels players will say, you hide units on the board and wait for turn 3, and then turn 3 strike with maximum force. It is hard to be patient. It's quite rare that I'm bringing units in on turn 3. It's usually turn 2, but there's more rewards on turn 3 if you can hold off till then. So just to cover those things, it's easy to forget or miss those rules, and they're so vital for helping your army out. So we'll start off with HQ choices. I've taken 4 for my Blood Angels, so quite strong on HQ choices, but they're HQs that are designed to work quite hard in the game. They're not minor HQ choices. These are there to fight and do well. So the first one, we'll start with the Warlord himself here. So it's Captain Lazarus, as I've called him now. He's a converted model taking, I think it's an Age of Sigmar Prosecutor. The body, legs, the plumes going to the ground, just lifting him off the ground, and the leg and the wings here as well. Then taking a Blood Angel's backpack, jump pack from a Sanguinary Guardsman, Storm Shield from a Terminator. The arms are from the Prosecutor here. The chest is from a Sanguinary Guardsman. The head is a Space Marine head. I think it's a spare Terminator head, bareheaded, and then the Thunderhammer here from a spare from a Terminator model as well. But there he is. That's how he's come out, just to make him unique. Just think he looks quite glorious, lifting off the ground with the larger wings. So very happy with how he's come out. You can search him on the channel. Smash, if you search on my channel for Smash Captain, you'll find the conversion video for him and how I put him together for more details about him. I just made the extra effort here for this what's called a Smash Captain. It's a captain with wings, and he's been given a thunder hammer. So you don't go to the Blood Angels Codex for him. You actually go to the Space Marine Codex for this entry. I'll try and share all the details and Tactica I can with you, just to help you out. You're welcome to copy this list. I'll call out the points values to you, so you can make a note of them, and you can copy this list entirely, or you can take sections of it. But you're looking up Captain here for his stat line. Movement 6, weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+, strength 4, toughness 4, 5 wounds, 4 attacks as base, leadership 9 and 3 up save. So we're going to improve on all of that. That's your basic stat line. For him, then you can pay the points to give him a jump pack, which I do. That increases his move to 12 inches, and he can deep strike in as well. He can jump over terrain and so on. So that makes him nice and quick around the table. So either he'll be on the board moving about, or he will deep strike in with the attacking force. So multiple options available for him. 85 points as standard, 20 points to the jump pack, 20 points to the thunder hammer. I've given him a storm shield as well, so that gives him the 4+ invuln save. That's 10 points for that. So 140 points. If you wanted to be quite cheeky and save 10 points, you could drop the storm shield, and because he's a captain, he's going to get a 4+ invuln save anyway for Iron Halo. So really the storm shield is just paying for a +1 to the armor save. And storm shield. The bearer has a 4+ invuln save, in addition +1 to armor save and throws made for the bearer. So if he's struck by something that's AP -1, for example, he'll still get a 3 up save instead of a 4+ for taking the storm shield. So just to make him a bit more durable, but it's 10 points to do it. So he also gets rights of battle, so chapter core units within 6 inches. He's going to deep strike him with a number of core units, or he may move up the table with some core units. They grant reroll 1s for hit rolls, or he grants reroll hit rolls of 1 to them. So it's going to be core units like Intercessors, for example, Sanguinary Guard, but not things like Dreadnoughts. They won't get the reroll 1s, it's only core units. So for this revamped list, I've changed the extras being added on to Lazarus here. Previously, he was okay in close combat. It wasn't that potent, and I did a different combination. But now I've gone back to trying to make him as nasty as possible in close combat, and so there's a few combinations to make him that much better. So remember, he's got 4 attack space, +1 on the charge for being Space Marines, and then an extra charge for Savage Echoes turn 3 onwards. So there's a potential of 6 attacks with him. Downside with the thunder hammer is he's 2s to hit, but then it's -1 to hit rolls for taking a thunder hammer. So it drops to 3s to hit. Also, in the previous edition, on the older codex, he would have been able to reroll 1s, but he can't do that anymore. So he's on 3s to hit, can't reroll anything. So 6 attacks at best. He's going to get 3-4 hits coming through, and then you might fail to wound, and all of a sudden a couple of wounds have come through against the target. So I'm going to really improve that with a combination that I've gone for. So the first thing that I take on him is in the Blood Angels Codex, it lets you play a stratagem where you can give him a Warlord trait, and then you're allowed to take a second Warlord trait. One of the Warlord traits has to come from the Blood Angels supplement, and one of them has to come from the Space Marines Codex. It's 1 from each, but it lets you take 2 Warlord traits. That's what I've done. So we'll just look these up. So the Warlord trait that I give him is the Imperium Sword. So you can reroll charge rolls for the Warlord. So immediately gets reroll charges. Excellent. Each time this Warlord fights, if it made a charge move, performed heroic intervention this turn, then it gets +1 strength and attacks. Another attack on the charge. So now you've got base of 4, Space Marines on the charge, possibly Savage Echoes, and then +1 for Imperium Sword as well. So the potential of 7 attacks now. With him, that could just make all the difference in a game. So bearing that in mind, some extras going on in here. So the Warlord trait I take from here is Gift of Foresight. This one's very, very useful. In each turn you can reroll, and this is every turn, you get to reroll all 3 of these if you need to. In each turn you can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 saving throw made for your warlords. You're adding to your durability, making him more reliable when he tries to hit and wound in close combat. And we then combine that with a relic, which is the Hammer of Bale. Here it replaces a regular Thunderhammer. It's ×2 strength. That's the same as a normal Thunderhammer, but it's AP -3. A normal Thunderhammer is AP -2, so it's more bite, damage 3, and there's no minus to hit rolls. So now we've got a warlord with potential of 7 attacks, 2s to hit. There's no minus to hit rolls. He can re-roll one of those, so 7 dice getting 2s or more. There's a 1, you can re-roll it, and then it's usually going to be 2s to wound because he's coming in at strength. I believe it's ×2 strength for the hammer, then +1 strength for Imperium Sword, so strength 8 or strength 9. That means it's usually 3s to wound against tougher targets, +1 to the wound rolls for Blood Angels. So that's going to be 2s to wound, and you've got that re-roll ability. You can re-roll one of the dice for his warlord trait again. So you've got now lots of attacks, exceptionally accurate, very, very likely to wound the target, coming in at -3 and 3 damage. So he's a killer. And all those extras you've been adding on, it's not extra points being spent, it's still sitting at 140 points. But you've made him much, much better by going for that combination. There's all different options available, different people go for different combinations, but that's his loadout, and it seems to do well in the game. So there he is, 140 points for Lazarus Dawnhammer. He'll lead the force. Okay, so next up, I'll bring these in now. So I did run 1, but I now run 2. This one's not quite finished. I've still got a little bit of work to do on him, but he's coming on well. So there's 1, and then 2. This is the original one. So 2 Librarian Dreadnoughts. Always been a big fan of Librarian Dreadnought. It's a recommended model from a subscriber on the Plus channel. They said you should take a Librarian Dreadnought, which I then did. Brilliant model, performed well in games, and I still believe a very good model for 9th edition. So I've taken a second one. It's 2 HQ choices. This one's unique to Blood Angels. Again, whenever I'm doing a faction, I like to collect and add in units that are unique to that particular faction or chapter. So for Space Wolves, I like to take Thunderwolf Cavalry because they're unique to them. For Blood Angels, Librarian Dreadnought, one of the classic Blood Angels units to take. So these are HQ choices. They're wounds 8, so they can be shielded behind screening units. So they're character models, and it can be quite hard to target when you're able to screen them behind other, like vehicles or infantry squads and so on. So again, with the Librarian Dreadnought, the idea is to try and take this model and then upgrade it with extras that you can add on. So there's a number of things you can do with these. So Librarian Dreadnought, movement 6. One of the downsides is movement, but we'll cover that in just a moment. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3+, strength 6, toughness 7, 8 wounds, nice lot of wounds, 4 attacks as base, leadership 9 and 3 up save. So good stat line. It's an HQ choice, but what you're getting, it's a pretty tough model here. Dreadnought's now Duty Eternal, which is fantastic. It's -1 to damage characteristics coming through against them, so adding more to their durability as well. They get Angels of Death, the extra attack on the charge, Savage Echoes and so on. Psychic Hood and Explodes. You can manifest 2 psychic powers and attempt to deny one. No smite and 2 powers, so decent enough psyker as well. I reckon we'll cover the weaponry. So 150 points. I pay the extra 5 to give them the multi-melter under the fist just here. So 5 points to give them the multi-melter. You can catch out a character or put some damage on a target before you charge in. I think it's worth the damage that it can do for extra 5 points. Taking the melter gun's a good idea. That's range 12, assault 1, strength 8, -4, d6 damage. If you get to in range 6, it's d6 plus 2 damage, so nasty enough. Then the equipment then, it's taking a Furioso Fist, ×2 strength, so strength 12, 8 -3 and 3 damage. There's no minus to hit rolls, so it's a nice reliable weapon that he's able to take. And also the Furioso Force Halberd, +2 strength, so strength 8, -3 and d3 plus 3 damage, which is fantastic. Each time this bearer fights, it makes an additional attack with this weapon, and no more than 1 attack can be made with this weapon. So it's an extra attack on top of the usual profile. So 4 attacks base, Force Halberd another attack, And Space Marines on the charge, Savage Echoes, again you've got potential of 7 attacks with him. And coming through at -3, no doubt it's going to be 2s to wound, 3 damage every time. These Dreadnoughts are particularly nasty, so I've taken 2 of them. So that's all those things. Really then, to cover next is the psychic powers. You've got access to Smite as per usual, and then on top of that you're able to add 2 psychic powers. So it's a combination that's carried over from previous edition, so it's quickening, and then you're also taking Wings of Sanguinius here. The two work very well together. So the quickening, it's a blessing, it's a warp charge value of 6, quite likely it will go off. At the start of your next psychic phase you could reroll advance and charge rolls made for the Psyker, so you're giving them a more reliable chance of getting into close combat, so helping them in regards to getting into melee. And you get extra D3 attacks as well, so potential of go all the way up to 7 attacks for him now goes up to 10 attacks. And again, you're not paying points to this, you're just stacking on these extra abilities. But 10 attacks, 3s to hit, 2s to wound, 3 damage, A for -3 is scary stuff from the Dreadnought. And then he's a character who can be hidden away behind other units. So the downside is speed. Walking around at 6 inches is slow, it's predictable, you're not going to get very far across the board. But take Wings of Sanguinius, so warp charge value of 6, again quite likely it's going to go off. If manifested, the Psyker can make a normal move or fall back as if it were your movement phase. In addition, to the end of the phase, the Psyker has a move characteristic of 12 inches and fly. So what you're getting is your movement phase 6, then in your psychic phase, if the power goes off, another 12 on top of that, and then if quickening goes off, you're re-rolling your charges as well. So you've all of a sudden your threat range has gone through the roof here. 6 inches, 12 inches, and then a re-rollable charge for him as well. And you really can catch people out. Maybe there's a unit behind a building, you get the fly keyword, you can jump up and over the building and land over the other side. So there's all sorts of manoeuvres that you can pull out with these. The loadout that I go for, both giving them the multi-melters and both giving them exactly the same psychic powers. And the idea of that is that I can send one Dreadnought out on one turn, and then go and do his thing. Usually it's some kind of desperate charge or kamikaze charge to take out a certain target. Maybe he dies or gets bogged down in close combat, he doesn't need his powers so much. Then on the next turn, I'd do the same powers. I've got another Dreadnought that I can make fly across the board as well. So usually people don't make the Psykers to have identical powers, but I plan to use these consecutively, one after the other, instead of both at the same time. And so I send out one, put the powers on him, and then send out the other, and use the same powers on another turn. So that's the idea behind having those two the same. I've got names for them, Romulus and Remus I've called them, the two Dreadnoughts. You can imagine there's a bit of background of those, perhaps previous battle brothers fighting on the battlefield. They got almost slain in a previous battle, and then they were entombed inside the Dreadnoughts, and now they still fight alongside each other as Romulus, brother Romulus and Remus. So that's the two Librarian Dreadnoughts, just a little bit of finishing touches on them to do, and these two models are completely ready for our games of 40k, but two Librarian Dreadnoughts in this revamped list. So the other thing I noticed about this Blood Angels list that I have here, it's a celebration of both Firstborn and Primaris. There's lots of Primaris stuff to show you in a moment, but also picking out some strong units of Firstborn Space Marines as well. So it's good to see these units still performing well and being viable choices. One more HQ choice to go, and it's a model that I've been using for the Imperial Fists a long time, but I've drafted him in. It's a Terminator Chaplain here. Now, he's got the starey eyes. I've called him Mr. Angry Eyes, but no doubt he needs to have a more serious name. But there he is, it's the metal model. He's been drafted in to lead the attack from Deep Strikes. It was the captain, but I've loaded him out differently now, and so I want to put some abilities onto this Chaplain. He'll Deep Strike in with a number of other units, and he will help them stand more of a chance of making successful charges. So that's the whole point of taking this Chaplain, to help out other units. And I also want to try and make him quite potent in close combat as well. So Terminator Chaplain, so 155 points for the two Dreadnoughts, by the way, and then for the Chaplain, 95 points for him, and then I'm going to pay 25 points to make him a Master of Sanctity as well. So that makes him 120 points in total. So I'm spending out a fair bit on HQs, but these are HQs that will play an active role in the game. They'll be happy to get stuck in close combat, and so I'm not really reducing much of the effect of my army. I've got these HQs that will join in the main attack quite happily. So again, for the Chaplain, we need to go to the regular Space Marine book. So many options for them. So Chaplain in Terminator armour, it's better than a regular Chaplain. You're getting a 2-up armour save, a built-in 5+ invuln save, but they will get the Lazarus anyway, so 4+ invuln save, so it's quite tanky. 5 wounds for him, being a Terminator. Weapon skill is 2+, bit slow, but I'm going to deep strike him in, so that'll add some nice flexibility to him. He's got Corrosive Arcanum, which is okay, +2 strength, even -1, 2 damage. Remember, +1 to the wound rolls for Blood Angels. 3 attack space for him, but then you've got Space Marines on the charge, Savage Echoes and so on to add on top of that. So this Chaplain, you'll see the units a bit later on, but he's there to land on the board and to be accompanied by a number of other units, and he's there to help those units with the difficulty that Blood Angels have had, and that is to get reliable charges from deep strike. You want a themed army that can deep strike in and assault, but so often units don't get into close combat, and it's disappointing, it's a nightmare, not reliable, and you can find yourself with your army in trouble with units stranded that should have made it into close combat. So the idea of taking this Chaplain is to help those other units out as much as possible. So to do that, we start stacking on the buffs and bonuses here. So Master of Sanctity here is 25 points. You pay 25 points and it unlocks these bonuses. So first of all, Master of Sanctity. This model knows 1 additional listening. If the listening is a battle, so you get extra ability. In your command phase, if this model is on the battlefield, it can recite 1 additional listening it knows that's not already been recited by a friendly model that turn. So you usually recite listening, now you can recite 2. So you've doubled his effectiveness. There's 2 powers that he can manifest or recite. Then I give him the Warlord trait, Wise Orator. Now this Warlord, when he recites listening, it's +1 to the roll. It's so annoying. 3s to make a listening go off. Just you fail it so many times, and so the ability to get +1. So 2s to make the power go off means it should most likely go ahead. Each time this Warlord is selected to use the commanding oratory stratagem, which I will use heavily in this list, that stratagem costs 1 command point instead of 2. So you're saving command points, which helps my army out because I've only got 7. So I take that Warlord trait to help him out there. Then we choose our listeners. Listeners of battle. So the way this works, you get to choose 2, and you also get like a standard listening for free as well, like a built-in one. This is Listening of Hate. Now I've got close combat units deep striking in. He then grants, if this goes off, remember it's 2s. If this listening is inspiring, then while a friendly chapter core or chapter character unit is within 6 inches of this priest, each time modern that unit makes a melee attack, you can reroll the hit roll. It's a major reward for trying to get stuck into close combat. If the Chaplain with Listening of Hate, if that goes off, then you agree, it's a reroll hit bubble, which is exceptionally useful. So very happy about that one. So then I pick 2. So the first one I pick is to help out other units nearby. That's his main job. Canticle of Hate. If his listening is inspiring, then while a friendly chapter core or chapter character unit is within 6 inches of this priest, so again it's a 6-inch bubble, stretches out to 12 really in size. It's +2 charge rolls. Fantastic. So now that 9-inch charge becomes a 7-inch charge, and this is not cumulative of any other roll that adds to unit's charge roll. So you can't add that to your Blood Angels +1 to charge. You just have to take that power as it is. But a 7-inch charge is so much more doable than a 9 or 8-inch charge, so that really helps out. And each time modern this unit makes a piling move or consolidation, it can move up to an additional 3 inches, so piling of 3 + 3. So you can find yourself pushing through at a large distance. You could pile in 3, an extra 3, and then consolidate 3 plus the extra 3. All of a sudden it's 12 inches. That's useful enough. and it's not cumulative again with any rule that increases the distance a unit can pile in or consolidate, but that's all worth bearing in mind. But the main part is that +2 to the charge rolls. So I'm going to try and make that even better. So say I've got a couple of units deep strike, so I've got a couple of units of Sanguinary Guard. So he deep strikes in, then bring in Sanguinary Guard units within 6 inches. So I'll cover, there's a problem with this, but we'll cover it in just a moment. Mantra of Strength is the second listening that I take. So if this listening is inspiring, it affects him +1 attack and strength, and +1 damage to his weapons as well. So that Courageous Arcanum now coming at damage 3. He's getting an extra attack as well, and +1 strength. So strength 7. I just think that's excellent. If he needs to fight well, then he can get that one. So Mantra of Strength added onto him. So to show you how this works, this next bit here, I need to cover stratagems. Yeah, so the commanding oratory stratagem here costs you 2 CP. My warlord trait cost me 1. So the problem, this is fixed. This fixes the problem. So you deep strike in, and I bring my units in. The problem is that litanies need to be activated in the command phase, and he's deep striking in after the command phase. He's coming in on the movement phase, so he's missed his opportunity to activate that litany, the +2 to the charge rolls. But there's a stratagem that can help you out. Use this stratagem at the start of any of your phases other than your command phase. So it could be your shooting phase or psychic phase, or charge phase, whatever it is. Select one Adeptus Astartes Chaplain unit from your army that is not recited a litany this turn. That model can recite one litany that's not already been recited by a friendly model this turn. That litany is automatically inspiring, so you don't even need to roll for it. It automatically goes off and takes effect at the start of your next command phase. So he lands, units all land, whatever phase you want, psychic phase, shooting phase, assault phase. You then play the stratagem. It costs me 1 CP, usually it's 2, and then he's going to make that litany go off even though he missed the command phase, and he's going to give I believe himself and other units nearby +2 to their charge rolls. So I land, and immediately I get the +2 to the charge. So that just is a massive, massive help. It just makes the assault that I have planned just that much more reliable for getting into close combat. Now, yeah, there's one more. There's one more thing just to make this even better. Again, you're welcome to copy this combination. I'm looking for a relic. Yeah. So it's here in the Blood Angels Codex. Icon of the Angel. So he's taken a warlord trait, but he hasn't taken a relic yet. So pay the CP, give him Icon of the Angel. The bearer gains the following ability: Icon of the Angel Aura. While a friendly Blood Angels unit is within 6 inches of this model, you can reroll charge rolls for that unit. So now he lands, the other units land, Wise Orator, as I then play the Stratagem Commanding Oratory for him. He grants himself and the other units nearby +2 to their charges, so like a 7-inch charge, and then combine that with his relic, Icon of the Angel. He then grants himself and all of those units rerollable charges. So 7-inch rerollable charge. It's so much more reliable than just a 9-inch or an 8-inch charge. You're not having to worry about using command points for command rerolls for your charges. They're all getting their reroll charges, so you're saving yourself on command points as well. So that's what the Chaplain's job is. He's there to lead the assault force coming in. Chaplain comes down, other units arrive, and likely, very likely that the units will get their charges to go off, and that's what you want. You want reliability for that devastating assault from the air. So, taking a bit of time to go through all the HQs, just giving you the full lowdown on those to show you how you can just amplify them and make them work hard for you. They're all potent, they can all fight well in close combat. So 4 decent HQ choices being taken for this Blood Angels list. So we'll just tuck those over there. And what I'll do at the end of the video, we'll lay the whole army out so you can see the footprint of it. We'll zoom out, you can take a look at the whole force, and I'll give you an idea of how the army will look on the battlefield. So then HQs have been done, we'll go on to troops next. So we'll go to the Blood Angels Codex, I just need 2 troops. Here, I'm going to take 3. So I'll show you units that are just fresh off the painting desk. I've been running Intercessors a fair bit as I've been changing my Blood Angels army around, but I need troops choices that I know they're not going to be very reliable in the game and do too much damage, so instead I'm going to put them out to work to try and achieve secondaries. That's the aim with those. There is a particular secondary here that I need to use or try and achieve. It's been shortened to ROD, Retrieve Octarius Data. So it was Deploy Scramblers previously, but it's changed, but it's a similar kind of requirement here. So if you select this objective, keep a tally of retrieved data points. Add 1 to that tally each time a unit from your army successfully completes the following action during the battle. So retrieve data, it's an action. 1 infantry unit, excluding character units from your army, can start to perform this action at the end of your movement phase if it's wholly within a table quarter that's not had a servo skull retrieved by your army, and it's more than 6 inches away from any other table quarter. So you've got to occupy table quarters, and then you perform the action. This action is completed at the end of your turn, provided the unit attempting it is still within the same table quarter. If this action is successfully completed, the table quarter is said to have had a servo skull retrieved by your army. So there's 4 table quarters. You're trying to perform this action in all 4. At the end of the battle, you score 4 victory points if your tally is 2. So if 2 table quarters you did it. 8 points if it's 3, or 12 points if it's 4. So ideally you want to try and get a 4 if you can. 3 is good, 8 points is pretty good for a secondary. So units to do that, I want them small in size, durable enough, and a bit of tactical flexibility. So I've gone for Intercessors here, just love the look of them for Blood Angels. So there's a squad here with the blue skull knee pads, like so. This is a Primaris unit, and then I've taken a second unit of these as well. Did enjoy painting these up. They're beautiful, fantastic models. The Primaris range is really good, and these look very nicely. They come out very nice for the Blood Angels. Bit of yellow around the helmet, just copying it from the Blood Angels Codex, putting all the transfers on as well. They do look very good. Again, these are units that have been recommended to me by subscribers on the Plus channel. So you're getting your standard Primaris Space Marine stat line, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, and so on. You can take Haywire Mines, but I've kept the cost down on those. They come in at Chaplin's 120, and Cursor's 105. 105 points, 21 points per model. They've got multi-spectrum arrays. Each time this unit makes a ranged attack, you can ignore any and all hit roll and ballistic skill modifiers, which is quite cool. You ignore light cover as well, the Oculus Bolt Carbine, but it's not really relying on them for any kind of firepower. They're there to work and achieve points for secondaries. We've also got paired combat blades, so AP-1 in close combat if they need to. They can be quite potent, especially turn 3 onwards. 2 attack space Marines on the charge, Savage Echoes, fighting at AP-1. If it's turn 3 onwards, it's another AP-1 on top of that. +1 to the wound rolls, so that they could cause a bit of trouble in close combat, but usually in the game they stay away from trouble. They're there just to work hard and pick up points for secondaries. Whilst they're trying to fulfill that retrieve Octarius data, I may well have like engaging fronts running at the same time, so the control of having units in table quarters. These units be spread out, anchoring table quarters, harvesting points for that, performing actions for retrieve Octarius data, and so just keeping those victory points flowing in whilst the rest of the army's out fighting. These can have more of a tactical role, and it fits the way they're meant to work as well. There's one other thing with them is a stratagem here. So these are have the Phobos keyword, or stealthy type unit. You can use guerrilla tactics or 1 CP. Use a stratagem in your movement phase, and a Phobos unit from your army that's more than 6 inches away from any models is selected to move. If the mission you're playing is using strategic reserves, you place that unit into strategic reserves. So you can remove them from the table, they've done their job, whatever it is, and you need them somewhere else. Remove them from the table, put them in reserve, next turn comes up, they can come onto the board like on your own deployment zone or a flank, or if it's late on enough, your opponent's deployment zone 6 inches in, and they can get into a table quarter to help you pick up points, or arrive on a table quarter and then immediately perform the action for retrieve Terrace data and help you with that tally. So they may well be in my own deployment zone as I perform an action on one of them, and then on the next turn remove them from the table and then bring them in on another turn. It's just constantly working hard to help pick up those secondaries. So that's their job, to stay away from trouble really, and to help pick up vital victory points during the game. So tactical choice just there. I then take Intercessors. So it's a full squad of 10. You may well see in a battle report that I was taking 8 of them, but I'm going to tweak this list. I reckon drop a Sanguinary Guardsman, plan to take a unit of 8, or drop down to a unit of 7 and free up points to take a full squad of 10 of these. It means that I can combat squad them if I need to. I like the idea of a squad of 10. It means I can play stratagems on them, like to shoot twice, could be quite effective. For these, because I want to play quite aggressively and push up the table, I want to act as a screening unit. So you can imagine the 2 Dreadnoughts, for example, tucked behind them. The opponent's got to clear these out of the way, or most of them out of the way, to then shoot the Dreadnoughts. That's the idea behind these. Bit of durability, bit of a chunky unit on the battlefield. I would still shelter them and not let them get shot up too bad. I give them auto bolt rifles, range 24. Assault 3, so they can keep moving up, keep that rate of firepower going. Strength 4, AP -1, AP 0, and then damage 1 for that. But squad of 10, no upgrades, no grenade launchers, 30 shots a time, and I could double that if I shoot twice as well, if I need to. So screening unit, more of a blocky unit to tuck my characters and so on just behind them, and to lay down, if I need it, to lay down a pretty decent blanket of firepower as well. The other reason why I've upped the numbers on these is to get the balance of the army right. You've got to have less than I believe it's the power level and the points value in your army. You've got to have less than half. You can't go over that for putting units into Deep Strike Reserve. So just under half my army usually goes into reserves, and then the higher amount, the larger half, is on the board. So remember, you've got to stick to that and calculate that out. If I take those 2 away and add an extra Sanguinary Guardsman, it tips it in the wrong direction, so I keep those in like so, and then just go for 7 Sanguinary Guard instead. But unit 10 of them look quite impressive, very durable unit, take a fair bit of effort to bring them down, but I won't be careless with them. I need to tuck them away and keep them out of trouble as much as possible. So 3 troops choices being taken. Quite specific roles, achieving secondaries with them, screening job, and firepower support with those. So everyone's got a job to do for this list. 20 points a time, so for straight 200, and 105 for the Intercessors, as I've already said. So next I'll bring in one of the old time, but well, maybe. I've been running this unit for, oh boy, since the start of the channel. So we're going to be pushing on 9, pushing on 10 years. A decade of battles these Terminators have been involved in, and they're still in this Blood Angels list. I still rate them. I think they've improved. Here. So head over to Elites. Head over to the Elites. There's plenty of options, but it's the Terminator Assault Squad I've gone for. So these will join the Chaplain. And I'll lay them out differently later on, but Chaplain, these are deep striking with him. That ties in nicely. Terminator Chaplain, Assault Terminators, just link in great. And this unit with the Chaplain to land, so the land, Chaplain activates his listening, gives these Terminators +2 to their charges, and re-rollable charges as well. So it's nothing worse than seeing the Terminators stranded, so now much more likely that they'll make it in to close combat. 2 attacks as base, 3 attacks for the Sergeant. They're 3 wounds now, used to be 2, so a bit more durability being added onto them. Storm Shields, 4+, remember that +1 to the save and throw. So AP -1 coming in against these will go 2+ to 3+, and then the +1 back on to 2+. Stick them in cover for extra bonuses as well for them. But usually you'll see them landing, charging, and getting stuck in against heavier targets. The Thunderhammers are damage 3, so they're better against sort of higher wound targets, vehicles, monsters, characters, heavy infantry, and so on. And the other thing is they charge in, and they've got a bit of durability. It takes a fair bit of effort to get past the inbound saves and through the wounds, and so the Terminator's quite a solid choice. Stratagems to help them out, you can go for the first spawn. It's called First Spawn. Fury of the First, I think it's called. +1 to the hit rolls. So 3s to hit, Thunderhammers -1, then back up to normal, another +1 being added on for Fury of the First. So 3s to hit. Remember your Canticles of Hate if that can go off, giving them re-roll all of their hit rolls. Really help out the Terminators. So the Chaplain Terminators, good combo going on with them. The Terminators are in. Then the next unit, I mentioned them already, it's the Sanguinary Guard. So for this finalised list, I reckon I'll run 7. It was previously 8, but 7 is what I'm going to run. So I'll tuck these in here. These are deadly. They're exceptionally good. I rate them very, very highly indeed. These come in as elite, I believe. So I need to look for them here. They're in this codex. So Sanguinary Guard, Elite's choice. Points for those, they've gone up. They're 32 points each. They were 30, but they're 32 points each. So 224 points for 7 of them. So expensive enough. That's why you deep strike them in. You want them to get into close combat. They're expensive units, and if they just sit there stranded and not do anything, the opponent's going to jump on them, try and blow them away. And so you really do want them to get in first and strike first. And the best way to protect your elite units is to kill the enemy before they have a chance to strike back. Movement 12, a jump pack unit. 2 wounds as base, 3 attacks as base now, fantastic. 3 base, Space Marines on the charge, Savage Echoes, all of a sudden you get tons and tons of hits coming through. I'll show you some fantastic combinations of these in just a moment. I like the Angelus bolt guns. They've increased the range 18, assault 2, strength 4, -1 damage. They're great if they arrive on turn 2. They're going to get extra even -1 as well, so they're AP -2 on turn 2. Then you can go for melee weapons here. Power Fists, they're ×2 strength, they're AP -3 and 2 damage, but it is -1 to the hit roll, so not so keen on that. The Axes, +2 strength, really good, AP -2 and 2 damage. I go for the swords. Usually they're going against heavy infantry, so +1 to the strength, just fighting at strength 5. Remember they're Blood Angels on the charge, an extra +1 to the wound rolls anyway. So toughness 4 targets, they're going to be on 2s to wound on the charge. AP -3, a real good bite there with the AP modifier, and then 2 damage as well for the sword. They're terrifying. Now, they get Angels of Death. It's -1 to hit them with Angelic Visage, and now what can make them good to excellent is if they can fight alongside the captain. And so my captain's painted up in gold, the white wings. He fits in perfectly next to the Sanguinary Guard. It's like the bodyguard for him. Just really love the combo with the captain and the Sanguinary Guard working together. And if you do that, there's a Skeleton here. Each time model in this unit makes an attack, if that model's unit is within 6 inches of any friendly Blood Angels Warlord models, so that's him, he's going to be the Warlord, and it's +1 to that attack's hit roll. So what you've got is you've got a double combination going on here. You have +1 to your hit roll, so Sanguinary Guard now hitting on 2s, and because the model there nearby is the captain's granted reroll 1s for core units. And these are core, so now you've got 2s to hit rerolling 1s. It's just so reliable. That's the scary part about them. So if you can, try and get them to work in tandem together. So usually in a game, you'll see the Sanguinary Guard deep striking in together or hanging around with the Smash Captain. Both that combination, +1 to hit rolls, rerolling 1s, just incredibly good. 3 attack space, add an extra 1 on top of that for Space Marines on the charge, another 1 on top of that as well for Savage Echoes. Tons of attacks come through. Nearly all of them are going to hit their target. And then with the +1 to the wound roll, it's a very reliable chance of wounding as well. Even like a toughness 8 vehicle, you're wounding it on 4s. And then once that wound comes through, it's -3. It could be -4 on turn 3 onwards, and then it's 2 damage every time as well. So I rate the Sanguinary Guard. I think they're utterly deadly. Use them with the captain, and they just dice through anything in their way. And they're a Blood Angels firstborn unit. Beautiful sculpt. Love the colour scheme. You know, these golden angels here with their white wings and the glinting armour. I think they're a fantastic unit to have and to add to your Blood Angels collection. So that's them. 7 of those. They're being added to the force. So far we've got some decent HQ choices. Now we've got some very nasty units in close combat that can deep strike reliably in. We've got some units to work hard for secondaries and a blocking unit as well. We've got the double Librarians and some nasty units moving up to join in with the main assault as well. Still got plenty of points to spend. So next we'll go on to fast attack next, which makes sense that we should take some. So I've got one unit here, and it's taken from the regular Space Marine Codex. Yeah, so it's Interceptors, but I pay the extra points to take Plasma Interceptors instead. The weapon is the Plasma Exterminator. Yeah. Now, this is one of the first units I painted up for my revamp. Stick these here for now. So I take a unit of 5. I do have 6 of them, but it's been advised to take 5, and the way the points have worked out, I'm just going to take 5 of them. So 5 should be deadly enough. Points wise for them, you're looking at 250 points. You have to pay a bit extra now for the taking the Plasma Exterminator. So 50 points each, that's 250 points. Again, it's another unit that can deep strike in. They have Angels of Death here. Angels of Death and Death from Above for deep striking in. But their role's a bit different, or very different. I can deep strike units in and assault the enemy's front line. But what about trying to reach deeper in? It's hard to get there by deep striking, but I can maybe reach over the top of other units with firepower. And that's the idea behind these, is to use firepower to ambush and pick off units. Sometimes if it's a unit that's quite hard to reach in close combat, I can try and pick them off with firepower from them. So the Plasma Interceptors, or Inceptors, you get the Plasma Exterminator. So you can go for standard or supercharge with their firepower. Stat line, by the way, on these 10-inch moves, they're quite quick around the table. The toughness 5 because it's a Gravis type armour. Wounds 3, so they're tough enough targets. 3s for armour. So Plasma Exterminator, you can go for standard, range 18, assault D3, strength 7, -3 and 1 damage. So dangerous enough, and they blast as well. What's interesting about blast is if the target is over. If it's over 5 models, so 6 or more models, you get a minimum of 3 shots per weapon. These are equipped with 2 Plasma Exterminators. Each one is assault D3, so if you're hitting a target just of 6 or more models, you're going to be getting a guaranteed 3 shots per weapon. They've got 2 of them, so it's 6 shots guaranteed with blast against the right target with these. You're just guaranteed to get a ton of shots coming through. And usually it is kind of heavy infantry that you're going after, so the potential loads of attacks come through from these. Yeah, potential 30. If you're rolling, you're averaging about 20, so 20 to 30 shots with those. You can go strength 7 -3, 1 damage. If it is a tougher target, like a vehicle, some monster you need to try and cause damage against, then you can go for supercharge. It becomes strength 8, -3 and 2 damage, doubling the damage. The only downside is if you're rolling 1s to hit, then models are slain, and rolling 6 dice is quite likely. Well, statistically, you should roll a 1, and so therefore they can find themselves in trouble. So when they do land, to help them out, I try and land them because they're a core unit. Try and land them near the captain if I can. He will grant them the reroll 1s to their hit rolls, and so if you do roll any dreaded 1s, there's a chance to reroll that, try and avoid getting a 1 and losing the model. So again, usually, not always, but usually in the game you're trying to see these land near the captain to benefit from his reroll 1s. and then to lay down a blanket of firepower in support of the assault units. Not to fire at the closest units, but to fire at and to reach other targets. Or if there's too many targets in my army to deal with, I'll try and delete one with firepower and then charge the rest. Sort of the philosophy with these. But I want them to land, shoot and do well, and so having them land near the captain, picking the right target, they should cause a lot of trouble here. Strength 8 -3 and 2 damage is exceptionally nice, especially with 6 shots each per model. These are popular at the moment amongst Blood Angels and Space Marine players, and they're a welcome addition to this list. I've got a bit of pinpoint nasty firepower available with these. I'll leave them where they are. I've got 2 more units to bring in, so adding a bit of firepower support. Next up is I guess a multi-function unit. Some have said take Redemptor Dreadnoughts. There's certainly good choices for sure, but instead I've gone for the to match in nicely with my Phobos stuff, the Incursors. I've taken Invicta Tactical Warsuits, 2 of them. So that's the original one that I painted up. You can follow me on Instagram. I give updates from the painting desk, got pictures of these being painted up. Then there's the second one, just very fresh from the painting desk. Very happy with how he's come out. This one's got the heavy bolter being held like so. The other one has it in the holster, just at the side there. Just love these models, they're so cool. They're very, very nice painted up for Blood Angels. Not the most popular choice, but I'm relying on other stronger units, and these are just a support unit. We're not going to rely on these too much, but they're as a supporting unit. They actually kick out a very decent amount of DACA actually. They come in at 160 points, not too expensive. Their movement 10, so they're actually very quick for a Dreadnought. They're exceptionally quick around the table. They do drop in speed down to 8 and down to 6. Weapon skills affected, ballistic skills affected by damage 3+, 4+, 5+. But their strength is 7, their toughness 6, 13 wounds, loads of wounds if the opponents try and get through. 4 wounds, or 4 attacks each, and they do get, even though they're open top, they do keep their 3-up armor save. So they're equipped with a Fragstorm grenade launcher, so that's your range 18, assault d6, blast strength 4. They also take a heavy bolter, 3 shots, strength 5, -1, 2 damage. The Incendium cannon, I swapped that out for the Twin Iron How autocannon, which gives you range 48, brilliant range on these things. Heavy 6, strength 7, -1, 2 damage. So nice bit of DACA with that. Damage 2, bit of a sting in the tower. And then the Twin Iron How heavy stubber as well. Heavy 8, range 36, strength 4, -1 damage. So you add that together, you're kicking out a nice lot of shots from these. If you roll well, you're pushing on about 20 shots. They also get Angels of Death and conceal positions. So I can infiltrate these in. The Dreadnoughts that can deploy right up the board, and sometimes you might see me deploy them quite aggressively, try and risk going first in the game and swinging the Dreadnoughts into action immediately, or to grab objectives and so on. So there's it's like a flexible tactical role for these Dreadnoughts. They're perhaps, the ideal situation is that they survive through to the middle or late stage of the game. They can stride around 10 inches, happy to let loose with firepower that can reach all the way across the board, range 36, range 48. And what's great about these, and why I've dropped the Bow Predators, is that these can shoot, but they can also fight in close combat. Vehicles, no hope. But with these, they can actually do something in close combat, which again fits in with the style of the Blood Angels here. So they get 4 attack space. Remember, Space Marines on the charge, another attack. Savage Echoes, potentially another attack. Coming in with the Invicta Fist, ×2 strength. Strength 14, and with +1 to the wound rolls on top of that. AP -3, straight 3 damage. No minus to the hit rolls. Nice reliable Invicta Fist to use in close combat. And it's proved nasty enough. So tactical units, happy to get stuck into close combat, to use concealed positions, to grab and hold objectives, to lay down a bit of DACA, and also can act as a screening unit for my Dreadnoughts as well. So the opponent's got to get through this in order to get to him. So useful tactical assets, I would say, for these. I'm not going to rely on these to win the game, but they're there to help, and I think they have the potential to do that. So very happy to have 2 Invicta tactical war suits. You'll see pairs being used in the game. You know, a pair of Librarian Dreadnoughts, a pair of Intercessors, and a pair of Invicta tactical war suits. A little bit of symmetry going on with this list. That is the army for the Blood Angels. I've called out points for them, 160 points for those. I've covered all the points values for these. That's the list. You're welcome to copy it, adapt it, change it, but you can take any element that you want, and you can even copy the list entirely. Leave your own comments and suggestions, what you would drop out of the list, what you would add in, unit sizes and adjustments, war gear, loadouts, relics, warlord traits, and so on. All those things for discussion in the comments section below. But that's the list here. We'll zoom out and rearrange the list. We'll zoom out and take a look at this army. Right, so there it is. That's the list for the Blood Angels here. My HQ choices: Romulus and Remus, the 2 Librarian Dreadnoughts. Smash Captain here. The Librarian Dreadnoughts to shelter behind units, move up the board and sort of do one at a time kamikaze charges against targets dangerous enough, those 2 Psychers. Captain Lazarus, the Warlord here, to grant reroll 1s to units, core units that are nearby, and a nasty and dangerous unit in close combat. And he'll pair up just nicely with the Sanguinary Guard, hopefully to join him via Deep Strike, or to both arrive together. The Chaplain here to help coordinate that Deep Strike assault, so him, and alongside him would be the Terminators pairing up nicely, and then the Captain pairing up with the Sanguinary Guard, all dropping in. Also firepower support if needed. Plasma Interceptors can Deep Strike onto the board as well. And that Chaplain granting the +2 to the charge is really going to help out the Captain, Terminators, and also the Sanguinary Guard. Also, so a nasty attacking element there. Then units to help out with picking up points for secondaries and for control of table quarters and so on, holding on to primary objectives. 2 units of Intercessors just to stay out of trouble, just to work hard and bring in the points. A blocking or a large screening unit of Intercessors to help screen, lay down a bit of firepower support, and then finally just to help the army along, 2 Invicta tactical war suits, providing a fair bit of DACA, some decent manoeuvrability around the board, the ability to deploy in no man's land as well, and also they can fight in close combat quite happily as well, so they fit in quite nicely with this aggressive Blood Angels force. But that's the list. As I said earlier, leave your own comments and suggestions. Feel free to copy this list if you so wish, and it'd be great to hear back from anyone that's used elements of this list, or indeed this entire list, in their own games, and do let us know how you get on. Hopefully that's giving you a good idea of different units that you can take for Blood Angels, different combinations that you can use just to really enhance and make the best out of these units that you can. But there it is. Check out goblingaming.com for discount 40k, and a whole load of other gaming systems available from them as well. And if you use the unique links in the video description below, it does help the channel out in a small way, and it's much appreciated. But there it is, Blood Angels, 2000 points. Keep a look out for more of these videos as each army gets revamped and ready for war. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.